God says, listen closely, my beloved soul. And stay present with this message, not because anything bad is chasing you, not because fear must move you, but because clarity is arriving to gently restore your peace. Strong words sometimes appear on the surface to get your attention, yet beneath them there is calm guidance meant to free your heart. This moment is not about urgency that scares, it is about relief that settles. Archangel Michael stands for truth that clears confusion and protection that does not disturb your spirit. When his presence is felt here, it is not to command you through fear, but to help you release what has quietly weighed you down. Elimination, in this sense, is not punishment or confrontation. It is the natural ending of something that no longer belongs in your life. The word snake is symbolic. It does not point to a person you must attack or a situation you must expose. It represents an influence, a pattern, or a connection that has been draining your clarity. Often these influences are subtle. They arrive as familiarity, habit, or emotional obligation. They stay because they are familiar, not because they are healthy. This message arrives to help you recognize that difference without judgment. You may notice that your inner world has been asking for simplicity. That request has shown up as fatigue, hesitation, or the feeling that something is off even when everything looks normal. Those sensations are not weakness. They are awareness forming. Awareness is the beginning of freedom, and freedom rarely arrives with noise. It arrives with quiet certainty. The mention of a name does not mean you must rush to identify or confront anyone. Spiritual clarity unfolds gently. Sometimes recognition comes as a feeling before it becomes a fact. Trust that whatever needs to be revealed will be revealed in a way that protects your heart. Shock is not the goal. Understanding is. As this message continues, notice how it does not push you into action. It invites you into steadiness. Steadiness is how protection feels when it respects you. When something leaves your life at the right time, it often does so without drama. Conversations change. Attachments loosen. Priorities shift. You simply find yourself lighter without forcing anything. You are not losing anything valuable here. You are gaining space. Space for clearer thoughts, calmer emotions, and relationships that nourish rather than confuse. When something is eliminated through clarity, it means it had already completed its role. Gratitude, not fear, is the correct response. Remain with this calm awareness. Let the release happen naturally. You do not need to hurry, prove, or defend anything. What supports you stays. What drains you fades. This is not urgency, it is alignment, and it is unfolding quietly in your favor. As this message continues, allow your heart to remain calm and open, because what is unfolding now is not about confrontation or exposure, but about understanding the deeper shift already happening within your life. When something is removed spiritually, it is rarely loud. It often feels like a quiet loosening, a gentle untying of knots you did not even realize were there. This is the kind of change that does not disturb your peace but restores it. Archangel Michael is associated with discernment, the ability to see clearly without becoming harsh. Discernment is different from suspicion. Suspicion creates tension, but discernment brings calm clarity. If recently you have started noticing things more clearly, questioning patterns you once accepted easily, or feeling less emotionally pulled into certain dynamics, that is not confusion. That is clarity strengthening. The symbolic elimination spoken of here is not about rejection, it is about completion. Some connections, habits, or influences enter our lives for a season. They teach us something, shape us in some way, and then quietly lose their place. Holding on to them beyond that season creates heaviness. Letting them go restores balance. Balance is what this message is pointing you toward. You may find that your emotional responses are changing. Things that once triggered you no longer carry the same weight. Conversations that once felt draining may begin to feel unnecessary. This is not because you are becoming cold or detached. It is because your boundaries are becoming natural instead of forced. Natural boundaries protect your peace without guilt. There is no need to search your mind for a specific person or situation right now. Insight unfolds in layers. First comes the feeling, then the understanding, and only later the clarity of details. Rushing to label or identify can interrupt that process. Trust that what needs to be known will become obvious at the right time, without effort. What matters most in this phase is how you feel internally. If you notice more space in your thoughts, more patience in your reactions, and more confidence in your instincts, that is the result of something unhealthy losing its influence. Freedom often feels like calm rather than excitement. Calm is the sign that your system is rebalancing. You are not being asked to defend yourself, explain yourself, or justify your distance from anything or anyone. When something truly leaves your life in alignment, it does so without needing explanation. It simply stops fitting. And when it stops fitting, holding on becomes more uncomfortable than letting go. Stay with this gentle awareness. Let the clarity continue to surface on its own. Nothing here is meant to hurt you. Everything here is meant to lighten you. What is leaving was never meant to stay forever, and what remains will support you in ways that feel steady, respectful, and peaceful. As this message deepens, what becomes clearer is that the change taking place is not external first, but internal. Before anything shifts around you, something settles within you. You may notice that your thoughts feel less scattered, that your emotional reactions soften before they fully form, and that your inner voice sounds steadier than it used to. This is not accidental. This is what happens when an influence that once disturbed your balance no longer has access to your inner space. Archangel Michael is often associated with inner strength that does not rely on force. Strength, in its most refined form, shows up as clarity. Clarity allows you to step back without guilt, to observe without judgment, and to choose peace without feeling like you are losing something. If you are sensing this clarity now, it means the shift is already well underway. You may begin to reflect on moments from the past and see them differently. Situations that once confused you may suddenly make sense. Conversations that lingered in your mind may lose their emotional charge. This does not mean the past changes, but your relationship with it does. When influence fades, perspective returns. Perspective helps you understand without reopening wounds. This stage is also about reclaiming energy. Energy that was once tied up in overthinking, emotional obligation, or quiet discomfort is slowly returning to you. You might notice more focus, more motivation for things that genuinely matter to you, or simply a deeper sense of calm when nothing particular is happening. Calm during stillness is a powerful sign of alignment. There is no need to rush toward resolution or explanation. Resolution happens naturally when clarity is allowed to settle. Explanation becomes unnecessary when peace replaces confusion. If you feel less inclined to engage in certain dynamics, that is not avoidance. That is self-respect forming quietly. At times, the mind wants certainty in the form of names, labels, or events. But spiritual clarity does not always arrive as information. It often arrives as emotional truth. Emotional truth feels like relief. It feels like not having to try so hard anymore. That relief is meaningful, even before details become clear. You may also notice a growing trust in your own timing. Where you once felt pressured to respond, decide, or fix things quickly, you now feel comfortable allowing things to unfold. This comfort is not passivity. It is confidence. Confidence does not rush because it knows it can wait. As you remain present with this message, let yourself accept that some endings do not require closure conversations, explanations, or dramatic exits. Some endings happen quietly, respectfully, and completely. They end because their purpose has been fulfilled. Stay grounded in this awareness. The clarity you are experiencing is not temporary. It is the result of something unhealthy losing its grip and something healthier taking its place. What continues next will bring this understanding into a calm sense of completion, allowing you to move forward lighter and more centered than before. As this message comes into completion, let everything you have felt so far settle gently inside you, without analysis and without resistance. What has been happening through these words is not exposure, not fear, and not confrontation, but restoration. Restoration begins when something that quietly disturbed your peace is no longer allowed to influence your inner world. You were never meant to carry confusion as a permanent weight, and now that weight is lifting in a way that feels calm rather than dramatic. At this stage, you may notice a quiet confidence returning. Not the loud kind that needs validation, but the steady kind that knows when to step back, when to remain silent, and when to choose peace over explanation. This confidence is not learned from struggle alone. It grows when clarity replaces emotional noise. What once felt tangled now feels simpler, and what once felt heavy now feels optional. Archangel Michael is associated with completion that brings balance. Completion does not always look like a final conversation or a clear ending moment. Often, it looks like detachment without bitterness, understanding without resentment, and movement forward without the need to look back. If you feel less curious about what is leaving and more focused on what feels stable ahead, that is a sign of true closure. The name mentioned earlier does not need to be forced into awareness. Truth reveals itself when you are emotionally strong enough to hold it without pain. Sometimes the mind wants immediate answers, but the soul prefers gentle timing. Trust that whatever clarity remains will arrive in a way that protects your heart rather than shocks it. Protection always prioritizes your peace. You may also sense that your boundaries now feel natural instead of defensive. You are not pulling away out of fear, but standing steady out of self-respect. This shift changes how others interact with you. When your inner space becomes calm, anything that disrupts it becomes obvious without needing explanation. That awareness is powerful, and it does not need to be announced. As you move forward from this message, allow yourself to accept that not every release comes with loss. Some releases come with relief. Some endings make room for stability, clarity, and relationships that feel aligned rather than draining. What remains in your life after clarity is always more supportive than what leaves. Carry this calm with you. You are not missing anything important. You are gaining space, balance, and emotional freedom. What was eliminated no longer had a place, and what stays will honor your peace. If this message felt like it was speaking directly to you, type Amen in the comments and let that be your quiet agreement with clarity and peace. Please like this video, subscribe for more calm spiritual guidance, and share it with someone who may need release and reassurance today.